This picture, I think, was year 9 or year 10, so I would have been maybe 14 or 15, something like that. And I immediately look at it in like a weird way, because I see myself at that stage as being quite confused and almost like out of my depth with what I was doing. And I guess trying to hide that with what I was wearing, kind of like how I try and be like a bit different in wearing like loads of bracelets or like doing my hair in like a weird way. It was just kind of trying to experiment in different ways to hide the fact that I was quite a shy person, I think. School for me was a place that I was excited to be in. I saw it as an opportunity to experiment with different subject areas, to make new friends, to learn a lot of new things. And for the great majority of the time, I really, really enjoyed myself. I remember, though, when I was in year 10, that I was in a strange point in my life where I was trying to kind of discover who I was as a person, trying to find out the things that I really enjoyed doing. And I was starting to kind of figure out that I really had a passion for music and playing guitar and singing. And whilst I was trying to kind of figure that out for myself, a lot of peers around me weren't as supportive. I was kind of the guy at school that looked a little bit different, and then sung and played guitar, which wasn't deemed as being like a cool thing. And due to that, I had quite a lot of people that would be quite negative about it. I mean, it was quite hard for me, because whilst at school I didn't necessarily see the people that were saying it, I'd go home and then I'd go on like my music page, and there would be comments from other people I didn't even really know, but I knew that the people that were saying it were friends with people at my school. So I found it really difficult to try and be excited and continue like my passion for music. I think that there's two things that I remember back to. I experienced bullying on two separate occasions, as in like two different times in my life. So the first point was before I was doing music, and it was just before I was really getting into making music, and there was a group of guys a couple of years older that were a couple of years older than me at school, that one day when I was at school, one of them like ran past and like just punched me, and I don't really know why. I knew that there'd been like some like, I don't know, like verbal conflict between a group of my friends and a group of their friends, but it was never really me that was involved, but I was the person that was, I guess the victim in the whole thing. So yeah, I remember that being one of the most shocking things for me, because I'd never really experienced violence in that way before. The comments on my social media page, it was things like I realized that there was something really wrong when I was writing out like my interests on my page, like in the About Me section, and people would take exactly what I'd written and then just try and like tease me on every aspect of the things that I really like believed in and was passionate about. And I realized that at that point that it was just getting so malicious that I needed to kind of seek help and change it. So when bullying happens, it really hits you when you're the most vulnerable. I remember that I struggled a lot with acne when I was younger, like 10 years, I had really, really bad skin. And I was trying to deal with that myself as it was. Then to have other people trying to bring me down and like pick on me in other ways, it just meant that my self-esteem was like really, really low. It would get to the point where I didn't really value much about myself at all. Like my confidence was gone. Like I couldn't look at people in the eyes anyway. And then, you know, to have people constantly like digging and just like trying to hurt you in other ways meant that the confidence I barely had anyway was getting knocked even more. So yeah, it was a really, really horrible place, because I was vulnerable as it was, but I felt isolated as well, even though I had friends around me. The combination of dealing with just developing and growing up, and then with the bullying, put me in a really difficult place. So the guy that punched me in the stomach, he had a few other friends that I didn't know at all, and a few times in the corridor they'd like joked about like killing me and things, but I found it like at the time I I just sort of like shrugged it off. But as it started escalating, one of them said that he'd like kill me and cut me up and things. And I found that really, really like difficult to deal with because I was only like 13 years old at the time. And I mean, they were only 15, but I think in hindsight to them, they probably didn't see it as that big of a deal. They thought that they were just saying things that they probably heard in films or something. But to me, like the receiving end of that was quite traumatic, and it made my time, that time at school really, really difficult. I remember having to sort of constantly be looking over my shoulder in the corridor, going as quick as I could to my locker after class to try and avoid the amount of time I could be potentially in their presence. So it was a really difficult time, and something that I'm not going to forget. I mean, it's been 8 years now, and I still think about it. So yeah, it's a serious thing. It was a struggle for me. It was really difficult, and that coinciding with kind of me dealing with like acne and trying to be like fit and like lose weight, I started opening up to a lot of people around me. My friends that I hadn't really spoken to before because I've been quite nervous and almost embarrassed to talk about this kind of thing with. I spoke to them about it as well as my parents, and I realized that the passion I had for music kind of superseded the negative side of being bullied by these people. And that's what it was. For me, I didn't really know for the first few months that it was bullying. I thought that it was just, a few occasional messages. But I think that's the scary thing about bullying, that people need to recognize that it can start quite tame, and then it kind of snowballs into something that's really, really difficult to deal with. And it's about realizing and seeing the warning signs early on, and kind of like tackling that at that stage before it escalates into what it did for me. But luckily for me, I had a good network of friends and family around me who, with their help, helped me kind of beat that. So in the end, I think I became a stronger person after dealing with that then. Because now when things happen and people are negative about the music that I make, I kind of think, well, if I was able to tackle that bullying stage of my life, then I'm able to do it now. My back to school advice is be confident within yourself. But if you do witness bullying, whether it's you yourself or people around you, make sure that you let someone else know, because it's really, really important to tackle it in the early stages. My advice for people who are worried about making friends at school is to be yourself. There's no point trying to be something you're not, because at the end of the day, that'll come out at some stage and you realize that you're not able to really, connect with the people that you're trying to be friends with. There's always someone or a group of people that will accept you for the person you are. And that was something that I had to deal with in the stages after it was too late. So, go in being yourself, be confident, and, you'll make lots of friends. In the UK, 10 million children are going back to school. Over half of them will be affected by bullying. You can change that by helping us train an anti-bullying ambassador in every single school. Go to antibullyingpro.com/back-to-school 2016 to find out how. Share your back to school picture and share your back to school advice using the hashtag #BackToSchool. This campaign is run by the Diana Award charity.